everyone, and welcome to our Femme Occulte garden. Today with me, Belladonna, Datura and Oleander, we will be continuing our chat on heavenly bodies, and we will be talking a little bit more in depth about planets today. So for the very start, when we were preparing this chat, we were talking about in what kind of order will we actually talk about the heavenly bodies, and how are they actually ordered in our practice? How do we view that? So if you can start, Datura, what's your line of planets? How do they follow each other?
Everybody's making fun of me because last time I said I'm a classicist. I still am a classicist. The way I work with the planets, I actually have a model to show you because I have this
superb.
And this is basically the Ptolemaic model of the universe, and it shows how the ancient peoples view the planet before they actually had telescopes and could see beyond Saturn. And the classic order from which we calculate planetary hours and basically most of the planetary magic that we do based on the Renaissance tradition goes Luna, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, or the other way around, depending on whether you work from the fastest rotating heavenly body or planet, or from the slowest moving one from this order. And this is Earth.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a lovely map of an Earth.
Basically a geocentric model of the universe where the old people just thought that we are at the center of everything. Because as we said last time, we are.
Yeah, indeed. We were talking about that last time already. And from Oleander's perspective, or / from the astrological perspective, if you have them connected.
Yeah, well, actually to be the same, and this order is fastest planet to the slowest. And it's interesting because if we reverse the order, we get traditional rulership from the first to the seventh houses.
Oh, okay, cool.
Today it's like Mars first house, Venus seventh, but traditionally Saturn was ruling the first and Moon was ruling the seventh. So it's the same order that Datura showed, but just from the top to the bottom.
That's quite cool. I didn't know that at all. Well, my order is a little bit different, but we will follow this one since you two are familiar with it, and I'm super interested about it as well. I order the heavenly bodies basically based on my practice and based on how they are turning around the sun. So it's centered with the sun in the center or in the solar system. So I'm usually mostly talking about sun and the moon because I have them a little bit more apart from the rest of the planets because I don't consider them planets. And then I continue Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So that's the basic line. Or sometimes I'm also working in the order that is connected to the days of the week. So I hope I will say it correctly. It's Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, and Sun. In US, it can start with the sun because of Sunday. But in Europe, our week starts with Monday, so we are starting with the moon and ending or finishing with the sun. Is the order that you mentioned actually connected to the planetary hours in a day? Is this the order, or does it work differently, Datura?
Yes and no, because the rulerships of the day, and I'm going now mostly by memory and also by this table that I have had here, because it's not something that I remember from heart. But even the rulership of the day are based on this old Chaldean calendar, where basically you start with Monday, which is the first. It doesn't matter which day you start with, but let's start with Monday. The first planetary hour of that day is Luna, and then you can calculate which day will come next based on and now I'm getting lost because I don't remember.
Based on that order, but you go some amount backwards. No.
You go a certain you go a certain number of planets forward or backwards, and that's how you basically get to the current rulership of the days. Maybe Zorana can elaborate further.
Yes, so no, it is correct what you said. Just maybe to put it in a different words. The order is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, but you always start with a planet which rules the day that you're looking at. So you start from that planet, but you move in this order. And of course, you start at sunrise, and from sunrise to sunset, you divide by 12, and you just arrange the planets, starting with the one who rules the day in the week.
Okay, I'm trying to find your article, Datura, on this in our Liber Magicae, but it's not in astrology, is it? It's somewhere a little bit in the front.
Yeah, I think it's in basic astrology. Just let me.
Anyway, you can find it also on our planetary tables that you can find on our eShop, which are basically like small tables of, or not that small, but the tables taken from this article. No, I just can't find it at the moment. Oh, yeah. Here I have a planetary year. And that's actually, I believe, in that correct order because it's Moon or Luna, then Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn.
Yes, that's my personal division. I'm working with the same thing, just in like the smaller. But in the leader, I actually wrote exactly how you get to the exact
amount
Monday.
of backwards.
Yeah. Well, technically it's not backwards. Technically it's forwards, but I'd be lying. I think so, because you always start with the Chaldean order, which begins with Saturn.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it is to go forward. It's just what I remember. I can't read it now here where it actually is exactly in this article. But yeah, I'd say page 61 or 62, it will be somewhere there. Yeah.
I will cite myself.
Yeah, I have here the Czech version, so that's why I'm just like.
I have the English one.
Yeah. So if you see it, if you find it, it would be super interesting because of like when you read it for the very first time and you're not working with this kind of concept, because from the last stream you may already know that I'm not really working with the planetary hours that much. Then you might get confused about how to actually calculate it. And that article is making it quite clear.
Okay, I found the article, and I will be citing now because that's better than me thinking from the top of my head. Each planetary hour of the planetary day is ruled by a different planet. The planet that rules the first hour of the day is also the ruler of the whole day and gives the day its name. In the Roman calendar, see below, blah, blah, blah. Thus, the first hour of Sunday is ruled by the sun, the first hour of Monday is ruled by the moon, and so on. At the same time, the order of the day succeeds the previous one, set by going 3 places down the Chaldean. Sun is 3 places removed from the moon, therefore Monday follows Sunday. Mars is 3 spots down from the moon, therefore the day of Mars. Tuesday follows the day of the moon, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Well, I hope that we just explained it totally, the definition of how to count planetary hours or how to make an order of the planets in this. Even though I have to say that I believe you can find these in Agrippa's work, is it? But I somewhere at some point during my practice saw also one where some of the planets were switched. And it happens also in like meanings of Hebrew letters and other things that the planets are just in a different order. But I say that this one is basically the most used one for these purposes. Okay, yeah, well, we can maybe move on to the specific planets or heavenly bodies. So do you want to start from the moon and then walk together towards the Saturn, or whichever is that? which one do you prefer actually?
I would just, before we get into the details, I just like to inform the chat that we will be discussing each planet from two perspectives: planetary magic and astrology, our own experiences, or how to work with the energies. And if you have different ideas, or if you see the planets differently, let us know in chat. We will be interacting with you the whole time, reading everything aloud. So don't be shy, talk to us, and let's make a discussion out of it.
Okay, yeah, super. Let's do so. And since you said that, I would like to also thank to all our followers that joined us since the last stream, and that will join us maybe during today. Yeah, well, so who do you prefer, or what do you prefer? Do you prefer whom, or what? Is it actually what, it, or who? The planet. Okay, I'd say we are on different topic now for a while, but why not? just to warm up a little bit. A little bit of philosophical question.
What? I think what.
You think what? Okay.
Yeah.
Same, yeah. Well, for me, it would be, yeah, I think it would be also what. But I could also work with whom, the deity connected to the planet, as we were talking about it in the end of the last stream. Oh, where's my language? Where's my tongue? So
I would say what, but when looking at the chart, it can be who, because other people in our life can come through the planets placed in the chart. So like your partner could be Sun or Mars, or, you know, for a woman, Venus or Moon. So parent can be Sun and Moon. So it can be who as well.
cool. That's quite cool. That's amazing. Exciting, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, I just have the feeling. I can't explain it. Like, wow, yeah, that's so true. And running with my thoughts forward. So what is your more favorable? What do you prefer to start with the moon or with the Saturn?
I think it depends very much. Maybe before we decide on which order, which I think is still undecided, but it depends in my personal view whether you want to go from the inside, even of the psyche, to the outside, or whether you want to look at it from like the broader perspective inwards. It depends either if you look at it from the psychological point of view of whether you want to come in from the inside of your head to the other people and to boundaries that far exceed you, or whether you want to look at it objectively from the outside in. From my point of view, it would be maybe easier to start with the moon because it's most earthly, most like connected to each and every one of us. But then again, the classical order goes from Saturn up until the moon. So Zorana decides.
Okay, you first. I'm from the inside out, so
Yeah?
let's do that.
Moon first? Okay, well, yeah, then we will start moon first. And for you, the moon is the inside part and Saturn is the outside part. Yeah? Also, like in life. If I got you correct, Datura, you said like going from inside outside. It sounds to me also that the correspondences are a little bit more with the moon connected to the soul and inner mysteries, let's say, and the Saturn is more like, let's say, society and stuff around us.
Yes.
Yeah, would it be this way? That's quite interesting. Because for me, it's a little bit different, but we will get to it. So let's start with the moon. Yeah, what kind of role does it have in your practice? I believe that I was talking about the moon all the time during the last stream. So I'd say that I will not say much of the new things about it. But yeah, Datura, if you would like to
I
take
will.
the word.
From like my practical, like magically, again speaking, I will not be speaking about astrology because I'm not an astrologer, but magically the moon to me represents the birth, or like the materialization of the outer concepts. Generally in planetary magic is all about divination, dreams, watery things, very, it might even seem very ungraspable or very ethereal in a way in its correspondences, but the fact is, or to me, the fact is that it represents manifestation from outside, like the outside forces internalize into the magician's mind, and basically allow the magician then transform them into earthly material things. That is for me the metaphor of Luna. It is coming from like an inner idea or a dream that has been formalized through all the transformations of previous archetypes, then is born onto the earth in a material form.
I'm writing notes. I'm making notes today. Okay, Oleander.
For me, moon would represent two important things. One is reflection, and the other one is change. And my presumption is that maybe in magic it's preferable to work with moon because it changes so fast, so you don't have to wait like 100 years, to have the proper phase, the proper sign. It goes so fast that you can just work with it continuously and arrange when is the best timing for you. But moon in astrology, like if we go in psychology, it would represent unconscious part of the psyche. It is reflection of the sun, so it's kind of everything that has to do with the part of your psyche before you become conscious of who you are. So it comes even as Datura said, the moon is the birth. So the small baby, the first connection and the first understanding of the world is the mother, and mother is represented by the moon. Womb is also represented by the moon, uterus, breasts, all these signs that we as beings first come in touch with when we are born are all connected to the moon. So it would be like moon then Mercury, because even before baby learns to speak or pay attention or even understand that there's like separate things separate of it, of my own being, the connection is with the mother, and even so much that you can't distinguish one from the other. That's the moon. It's kind of unconscious, but it's the strong connection that like has influence over your life.
Silver line. Silver line between the mother and the child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that still prevails even after the physical cord is cut.
Yes, of
It's
course.
like a astral kind of unconscious.
Yeah, because
connection.
moon also rules everything that is repeated, like because of its cyclical nature, repetition, remembering, memories, habits. So behavior that is unconscious, all small tics or small habits that you're not aware that you're doing, and you're doing it because something that happened a long time ago in your childhood, you can't even remember it, but it still influences your behavior and your life today.
I'm reading my notes here. Yeah, well, so I would like to just add that I totally agree with that mirroring and reflection. That's quite a strong aspect of the moon for me, definitely. And it goes very, very fast. The cycle is very quick. On the other hand, like in every single fantasy movie, you see that like this specific full moon will have this specific energy, and on that day, the horrible thing will happen. So I would say that still there is a really a lot of belief and faith and like folklore around the full moon and its strength, and it's coming quite often, but still there's enough space on social media to make from basically each of the full moons something special. So I think it has quite a power as well. And its power, exactly as Datura said, that the magician is basically taking the emanating spirit of or the power. It's drawing it down, drawing down the moon, calling that energy, and for me, the energy is quite raw, and it was here on the very beginning and was helping the earth to start moving the waters and to create the life and everything. So yes, it's like life-giving, but sometimes, as I mentioned already last time as well, sometimes the energy is just so strong and ungraspable. With the other heavenly bodies, I don't have that much of the feeling that, oh, today there's the energy coming from this heavenly body and I have to work with it or chew it somehow, or yeah. While with the moon, it happens quite often. It affects our sleeping cycles and dreams and everything for quite loads of people. Yeah, so definitely the energy that is basically sent to the earth from the sun, but mirrored, changed, transformed. And yeah. And only the clouds can save you then.
I just wanted to add both on the reflection part, and that what I also meant that the Luna is bringing the other energies from up until here, that she is a reflection of the archetypes of the other planets, and she takes in the energies from the outside and basically gives birth to them or form on the earthly plane. And then I wanted to just mention that technically, if we're doing science, then the moon was originally a part of the Earth.
Mhm.
It is a part of the Earth that was taken away and gone into space to be our satellite, to be our
To be the baby of the earth.
baby of the Earth, but also the anchor to the stars in a way.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
And
in my
there was this amazing point where you said that Luna is she. And that's something that I'm thinking about for so long, because as an eclectic, I went through so many different mythologies, and I also lived in several different countries, and in each country, the sun and the moon are like different gender, and these kind of things. It's quite interesting from language stuff for me as well, because of people are still using it in rituals without. I'd say that it is quite often connected to that female to that women mysteries, to that female power and motherhood and all this. But for example, in German, I live in Germany at the moment, you call it der, so it's like a masculine kind of thing. So do you have any kind of feeling of what kind of gender planets have, and is it affected by your language?
Yes.
How is it in Croatia?
In Croatian, moon would also be like masculine noun, but I always understood it as feminine.
I always understood the moon also as feminine, and in Czech we have two words for it. The moon is masculine, and the luna is feminine, and the sun is it's in between.
Yeah.
While in German, the sun is a woman or female, so it's quite confusing then.
well, archetypally, I think from like a spiritual perspective, I think you can see Luna as a female archetype because she's receptive.
Mhm.
She doesn't emanate anything from herself. She receives the light of the sun, and the sun is emanating. So it's a masculine energy of giving, of radiating, of being expansive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to say that it really works a lot on our emotions, but when I just like followed my thought, I thought that I will not talk about it because it would not like work with the concept, but I think it's interesting in the same time. That the moon is affecting our dreams and sleep cycle and all these things. And it's like a romantical thing and emotions and the water and this kind of stuff. But in the same time, I believe that the sun and the amount of the sunshine is affecting our mood maybe even more. So, like, based on the emotional part, the sun would definitely have some kind of feminine power as well in it. But we will get to the sun at some point.
Okay, I need to make a note, but we will get to this.
Make a note on serotonin.
We should maybe move on to Mercury because we've spent 20 minutes on the moon now.
Yeah, but like, moon for me, like Mercury, I will just say, yeah, Mercury, that's the guy over there between the worlds for me, and that's it. You can continue. Is it Mercury now, isn't it?
Yes, it's Mercury now.
Yeah. Anyway, I think I will continue before you will finish your message. Your your writing, and I wanted to just say that for me, Mercury is quite a messenger, communicator, and Mercury is actually someone for me rather than something. I have it very, very animized, spiritualized. It has a spirit for me much more. Like, let's say that the sun and the moon for me are very much like a natural forces, and Mercury is much more for me. I feel him rather as some kind of being and some kind of someone who can simply go through some specific door if he wants to and come back safely. In comparison to others who can just like get into the door and then like, uh-oh. Yeah.
For me, if we're gendering the planets, for me, Mercury would be the typical genderless, hermaphroditic, unknown, androgen being that could be anything at any point and everything and nothing, because it's so fluid and so changeable and so. If I say unstable, it will sound weird, but
there we have the Mercury retrograde again.
no, I think unstable in a negative point of view. It's just very fluid, mercurious,
like a chameleon.
Yes. Everything that is needed, being able to adjust to the needs, to the surroundings, communicate, change your language based on what you need to do. So for me, Mercury would be completely gender fluid, genderless,
Free.
I don't know. Free, yes.
Yes, for me as well, Mercury very neutral planet, and it's basically shaped by other planets that it come in contact with. And the role of Mercury would be to connect things. So he has to be. I know I'm saying he because of like in again my language, Mercury is like him, but he has to be without form to, because like the role of it is you have to be able to observe. You're learning about the world. Again, if we start from the baby is born, connection with the mother, okay, fine. Baby starts noticing the world around her. It starts distinguishing, okay, I'm this and there's something else and I'm going to touch it, I'm going to observe it, I'm going to try to understand, put in my mind, like, what is that, how it feels, so it's basically the mind ability to observe, to analyze, to make a conclusion, to communicate an idea, to exchange this idea with somebody else, to rethink somebody, to make a theory, to challenge a theory, to put yourself into somebody else's shoes. So all this is kind of very fluid and without form and without like a box that you're putting it in. But when you connect it to a planet, it becomes very much influenced by this planet. And another important thing that I would just like to say about Mercury, it's never far away from the sun. So Mercury is always around the sun. So it's always close to the conscious part. It is like rationality. It's very connected to this. It's in the service of this conscious part. It's connecting the consciousness with everything else around you. And its kind of task would be to connect all the parts, all the planets, to make some sort of meaning out of it, to put it like into the whole.
Like he's someone who's translating to our language what comes from the other worlds, or from other planetary languages maybe as well.
And the other way around. That's very important. It's our ability to
he's
understand
walking both ways. Yeah, he's walking both ways. Retrograde and normally. Okay, well, and with mocking the poor Mercury with his retrograde journeys. And we can continue to another one if you would like to. Which one is it now? Now I don't know.
To Mercury, just like a planetary magic, a practical perspective. From like our times, he's very much like the ruler of technology as well, with social media and computers very much as well, and operating systems, and very like many systems that we can use. So in magic, if you are aiming at communication and aiming at expanding your knowledge, whether it be in like traditional sense, medicine, or social media, or even books, computers, programming, and Mercury would be the planet to actually work with.
Yeah, definitely.
The human mind into another language, be the language of technology or the planets, or other people.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, just saying something out loud in a ritual, for example, that would be the role of the Mercury. You are naming something, you are making something real with your voice, with your thoughts. That's, just speaking out, calling out, naming things. It's a power in itself.
Okay. Yeah, well, so what is another planet?
Venus.
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 No.
Yeah.
I make fun of me loving Venus, but
Yeah. There she is, taking care about plants and loving them. Yeah. So what is the role of Venus in your practice? For me, it's like very much the feminine archetype in all the aspects, even in the aspect of mother, because of I'm not connecting that much to the moon. I know it from astrology, but in my practice, it might have some kind of feminine energy, but it's more abstract, while Venus is that female woman energy that I can feel in myself. The way I love, the way I make love, and all the things around.
In my view, and to go back to the fact that for me, Luna is the one who materializes. Luna is like the motherhood, where this is the potential for being able to become a mother, the potential to realize a creative force, or the potential to technically also devour. And from like negative feminine perspective, to take in and never let out. So it has two polarities for me, whereas the potential to create and potential to give birth without actually being pregnant, or before becoming pregnant, just the potential, or the potential to devour things and be hungry and want more.
Okay, maybe even like an addiction in relationships, you would mean, or not?
Yes, in relationship, yes. Toxic relationships, yes. Not addiction in terms of drugs. That's I think that's a different planet that we may come to later if we're talking drugs. But yes, it's toxic relationships. But again, that's the retrograde-ish.
As the darker aspect of it.
The dark Venus.
Oh, we didn't even mention the Lilith with the moon, but yeah, we spent so much time on the moon that maybe someday with some extras.
Maybe we can put in Lilith to the ending, because I see Lilith. I don't work with Lilith in like planetary or astrological sense, but for me, Lilith is dark Venus, very much.
Yeah, kind of. She's a dark side of the moon astrologically, if I am right. Oleander, correct me if I'm wrong. But definitely those aspects of Venus that might be toxic, and you just explained, I would search for them in Lilith. But Lilith also has really those very not really nice structures that are put it to the other ones around you. And yeah, she's very physical, but in the same time, yeah, she has that's some kind of thing that I can't name even in my native tongue. So maybe I will find it one day and I will talk about it in a stream in like a year or two if I will have enough time to think about it and name it. Yeah. Okay.
I'd be very interested to hear about Lilith. I don't work with Lilith in my practice. I know it's a dark side of the moon, but I don't really work with it. And from what I heard from the two of you about Moon and Venus, it's kind of like interchangeable aspects. Like Moon can be motherhood, Venus can be nurturing and mothering and loving. But in astrology, like especially traditional one, it's very separated. Like Moon is the mother, Venus is the young girl, you know, before she becomes a mother, and everything that's
A mother.
sorry.
Yeah.
Just potential, the young girl, the potential of becoming a mother.
Yes. But also, like, we have to observe it with the time. So when in the time when this was, you know, ongoing, our society was also viewing women very much differently. You're potential for a mother, you're unmarried young girl, so you should get married and produce babies. And today, you know, women can be both of these. And it's much more interchangeable in today's society than it was a long time ago, when we had a clear distinction. Moon, Venus, what is what. You become mother, you know, you're already married woman, you know, and you in this, your life is a little bit more defined. Well, today it's a little bit more different. But if we go into psychology, into more like inner workings, I would say Moon is more about needs and Venus is more about wants. So if we are going to observe this femininity of the planets, and the Moon is responding to the need, I'm responding to whoever needs me. If that is a baby, if that is a lover, if that is a plant that needs my care, while Venus is more about wants. So it's connected to what I would like, what I'm attracted to, what I'm attracting. It's more about that desire, the pull. So I don't know, if I would be guessing again about magic, I think that is why Venus is also involved into the maybe money spells and something like that. It's like attraction, it's the pull, it's what you want to happen. That's why it's more in wants. And I would put Moon with
I would add to it as well that the moon to me is more about feelings to someone and also to yourself. Not all the emotions, but feelings that are connecting you with someone else, not emotions that are chemical processes, even though feelings are as well. But you know what I mean, that it's like not only inside. And Venus as well is outgoing, but but she is physical for me a lot. She's beauty, she's touch, she's that kind of attraction. And if she's attracting money, then again, she is physical?
Yeah, there is two. So Venus rules Taurus and Libra, so earth sign and air sign.
Mm-hmm.
And this earthy part would be exactly everything that you described.
Yeah, that's my Taurus again talking. Okay, yeah, well, we have here a lovely viewer. Thank you for joining us in our garden. Ah,
I would just say, I will read the comment.
okay, then do it.
So I'm looking for a girlfriend. Have I come to the right place? Yes, if you want to learn about being a person who can find a girlfriend, then yes, maybe.
Yeah. Pray to Venus. She will bring you some.
Or Mars.
Or Lilith. Oh,
maybe
hi,
you
Andrea.
see. Hello, Andrea.
Okay. Well, did we tell everything about our beloved Venus?
There's one more thing I remembered, just a quick one. When we already mentioned babies and all of that development through Moon and Mercury, with Venus, you learn about your likes and dislikes, and you kind of define yourself as a person with your Venus. I like this, I don't like that, I like to eat this, I like to listen this kind of thing. You're putting yourself into groups through Venus because Venus is connecting, it's social planet. It likes to have everyone, getting along with each other. So it's kind of putting you into a group according to your likes and dislikes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting as well. Yeah, I have a very trickster kind of Venus, I believe so. But I will not tell in which sign do I have it, because then, like, after our chat, everyone would be able to read my complete Radix. And they would know everything about me then. Okay, hi Andrea. How are you today? We are well, I believe. I didn't sleep much. I was getting up at 4 a.m. with our little one, but all good. Yeah, and we are having a lovely chat. How are you?
We hope you're as well as we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so which planet is the next one?
Sun.
Sun. Sun after the Venus. And then is a Mars, isn't it?
Yes.
And it makes total sense the way you wrote it. Excuse me. Will you need me to take a little break? Maybe in a minute. I'm sorry. We might have to take a few minutes of break in a minute, but I will just finish this. That Datura was writing these articles that the Venus was a mum, and Mars was a dad, and the sun was between them as a child. And now it makes total sense if they are after each other. There's the mum, the child, and the dad. That's cool. That's amazing. Okay, would you be okay if we will continue with the sun and its sunshine after a little break? We are talking for 45 minutes, so I'd say it's a lovely time for...
Yeah, let's have a little break, fill up our drinks, go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go
Go to say hello to the baby who came home. Okay. Yep. So let's see each other in, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and we are back live. I'm not visible. My camera is off because I have still our little baby here, and I don't want to post it in our recording on YouTube forever. On Twitch, it might be for those 2 weeks visible. It's okay, but yeah, not for YouTube. Or at least as long as she will not give me the written consent that it's okay for her, because she has her rights. Anyway. We will continue with the sun. So what does the sun mean to you? Datura first, I'd say.
Oh, thank you. Now, going back to connect it with Venus, where to me Venus is the potential of creating something. Sun is a potential on its own. It's just a potentiality for everything. It's the consciousness, the potential for life itself, but it's not either. It is pure radiant light that can be transformed in many ways. It can burn, it can help things grow, but it's not either. And without actual direction, or without being influenced by other archetypes or other influences, it is, I don't know, just unharnessed electricity in a way, to me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I would say sun would be, as you said in the last talk, like the center of your life. You are the sun of your own solar system. So in the chart, the sun would represent like the conscious part of the psyche, which some psychologists call ego, but not just ego. It would be like the point from which you organize other aspects of your life, because in your life you're the king or the queen, which is also symbolized by the sun. So you would be the one who, the sun would be like making decision, making choice, choosing direction in the life, approaching life with what kind of energy, with what kind of mindset. Are you confident? Are you scared? Are you eager? You know, this kind of different. Yes, the energy is the same, because sun is the principle of life, life giving, giving light, giving warmth, but it can express itself in many different ways.
Yes, I will just read Ondra's comment. It's a nice coincidence that when you start with astrological baby, in quotation marks, the baby will come, and yes, that's that's how it goes.
And I'd say also that our baby here started crying a little bit, or talking. You didn't hear it because this time I turned off my microphone on our call, but I didn't on the stream. It was vice versa the other time. Okay, yeah, well, for me, the sun is also quite a pure energy. I would also feel a lot of God kind of, or angelic kind of feeling in that kind of light. The strings, or like this kind of thing. It's not a, yeah, it is tickling the earth, but in the same time, just the way it radiates, the way how big it is. And I was just on the walk a few days ago, and I just saw that beautiful sunshine and the sun rays on the path, on the road, and it just gives me shivers, and it makes me to feel very, very in some kind of sacred space where the life can exist under some kind of action that doesn't have to necessarily be formulated in some kind of thought that the human being would have, but has this kind of power of looking at basically half of the world constantly, or half of the earth constantly. Yeah, so also for me, it's a really great source of energy, because of the sunset works very well for me to just gain some energy, and sunrise actually as well. And as well as we were talking about the serotonin, the hormone, I'm definitely one of the people who has mood affected by if there is a sunshine during the day. So for me, it's something very much connected with activity, and something that I can spot as a witch and as a self-reflective person that is affecting my mood and me a lot. In the same time, yeah, I'd say that something is playing here on my phone. I'm sorry. The baby just turned it on. Yeah, and it just cut my string of thoughts, but I'd say that Datura wanted to add something on the thoughts of the mood affected by the sun. As well, it's connected for me with the seasons and the Sabbats of the witch, but I was talking about it already during our last talk.
in my personal views, I see two different paths or two different ways of placing the sun in a system of any sort. You can have either the sun and the moon as like opposites. And when we spoke first about the moon, we spoke about how it affects the mood and emotions and feelings, where the sun does too, but sun actually affects like bodily functions very much, where the formation of vitamin D is conditioned on the sun, which affects the ability of the body to actually work with calcium and actually build the physical body blocks that we actually need. So there is also a very scientific discernment between like the effect of the moon, which is on water and also on our bodies, because our bodies are majority water. And there is the effect of the sun, which is like purely in physical and biochemical processes that happen on the body that we are dependent upon. And there are actual scientific studies that if you put women like underground for a certain period of time without actually ability to receive sunlight, the women stop menstruating. I'm not sure if I can cite the study. I'll make a note if I find the concrete study to actually put a link in the description of the YouTube video. But
that makes sense. And the sun in connection with vitamin D and helping body building, produce all this calcium and building bones, it totally makes sense, because sun is well developed and good positioned, and not challenge sun. It should give you structure, it should give you confidence, it should give you courage, and all this you need to have very good stable ground to develop these qualities. You don't just become confident and courageous and with high moral code out of nothing. And the sun would represent hero in like hero's journey, all these stages of development of the hero. It's sun traveling through the entire year through the signs of the zodiac. So that is also like in old fashioned now movies and I don't know, Disney cartoons, the hero was represented by the sun. And today I think it's not anymore. And I have different theories why, but I think that today in the art, in the stories, movies especially, we don't have traditional hero anymore, and we don't have even traditional hero stories. We have very much put more attention to maybe the villain side of this journey. It's not hero's journey anymore. Now we have Joker, Cruella de Vil, and all these other, other characters are getting into the center of attention, not Sun anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
You want something to say, Belladonna, or can I?
You can continue.
I just wanted to then put on. I have like a little drawing here, just in my notes, where you have the dichotomy between the sun and the moon. And in my point of view, there is the triad of Venus, Sun, and Mars, where I want to explain what I meant by like the pure potential on its own. Because sun, if you isolate it, even on like scientific or planetary basis, without actually considering planetary magic, it is just the potential. It has a potential of Venus to grow things, to be a potential for life. But then it also has a part of Mars, which is a destructive force. And depending on where you tip the scales, there the sun goes. But if you have it alone in vacuum, it's just the potential. If there is nothing around it to take advantage of it, or to, and I'm saying it here, if you have nothing to actually tip the scales or change the balance, it's just pure potential. It doesn't have a journey to go through. The journey comes from the context of which you put it through. The sun itself is just something that has pure potential. So even if we talk about negative or not negative or reverse darker sides, or like more want to say negative, but you know what I mean, the exaggerated, the uncontrolled parts of the sun. It has very much the potential to go both ways in an explosive way. Not like the Earth where you just degrade into a direction, but the sun just goes either win everything or nothing. It's just
day or night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just meanwhile draw some pictures in here as well. That in my system, basically, instead of the sun, between the Venus and Mars is the Earth, together with the Moon. In my viewing, but basically, since I'm celebrating the Sabbats connected to the sun, my agricultural and solar systems are very, very intertwined and connected. So. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, actually, yeah, that makes sense that the sun used to be between the Venus and Mars, and now it's the Earth. I totally discovered America here. So, shall we move to another one?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's Mars. I know now.
It is Mars.
Yeah, the fighter guy.
Yes.
But the fighter who is young. I know that from Oleander's article. Okay, Datura.
Do I start again?
Yeah.
Well, as I said, I'm very divided on Mars. To me, Mars is very destructive in a way, very fiery, very destructive. On the other hand, if we talk magic and if we talk using Mars, it's also healing because it's fighting of disease, fighting of weakness, fighting of parasites, like inner bodily processes that are very much under Mars. Even though we describe medicine or ascribe medicine to Mercury, I think the actual hands-on work in our body is done by Mars, and it's done by the white blood cells and by our ability to hold our ground, which is also in a way maybe something that we have to learn. I think we had that discussion internally very much, that I'm one of the people who have that journey still ahead of me.
Well, I'd say that everyone has to kind of make terms with their own Mercury in their charts as well, because that's what
Mars is my
with Mars, because it's the trigger guy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the guy.
It's very interesting, Datura, what you said about health and Mars, because I immediately thought of surgeons and operations, which is basically cutting, it's very invasive sort of healing, but it's still the best one that we have.
And I would add when you are fighting for your life, you have better chance, always, in every situation. Mars will help you not to give up.
Mars is also important in astrology for, let's say, becoming individual or being individual, as separate from the group. Going away from your parents, going away from the home, saying no, fighting for your beliefs. It would be, again, wants, as with Venus, but like aggressive want and defending, okay, like this is me, this is you, this is how it's about differences. As Mercury and Venus are like connecting, Mars is different. And Mars return happens around every 2 years. And there is that thing, again, if we talk about babies, the toddlers, terrible two. In English, there's a term, terrible two, because at age around 2, babies become very much familiar with their anger. They are learning to be angry, to express this anger, rage. They're learning to contain it, to control it, to communicate it. So yeah, again, it is like distinguishing my needs from your needs, my wants from your wants, and how different, and who will, let's say, win in this fight.
Yeah. Well, so Mars is our fighter, and we as women are fighting him sometimes, I'd say, innerly. Anyway, I have here a request to continue and go to my family. What would you think, girls, if we would cover Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, maybe also Lilith, Chiron, and these guys in some other talk? Would it be okay for you, or would you like to cover Jupiter and Saturn today as well?
Personally, I'd like to finish.
Okay.
But if you can again turn up your camera, listen to us, and maybe pop in with your ideas. I'm not sure how Oleander is viewing.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'd be okay finishing so that we are complete.
Yeah, it's just that about those two, I just have loads on my mind, so I want to talk a lot. But anyway, okay, yeah. So we will finish these first 7 today, and I wanted you to Datura to also explain what are those guys called, lesser evil, lesser good, and these guys.
Benefic and Malefic.
Yeah. Would you cover that before I will come back from the second room? Thank you.
In traditional, I think it's even in astrology, I'm quite sure that we will agree, or you will correct me if I'm wrong, but in traditional astrology, there are 4 planets which have like their titles. One is Greater Benefic and Lesser Benefic, and then is Greater Malefic and Lesser Malefic. Those 4 planets are Jupiter, who is Greater Benefic, and Venus, who is the lesser benefic, and then there is Saturn, who is the greater malefic, and Mars, who is the lesser malefic. Benefic and malefic basically are titles. I'm not sure how to translate it perfectly into English, but benefic is beneficial, or like the do-gooders, or like the good with a capital G. Malefic are like evil, or like not very good, bad influences. Of course, that is in a way overgrown nowadays. I don't think we see the planets that way anymore. But as a good mnemonic, it's basically, if you want to work with like planets who are positive generally in your life, and archetypes that are positive, you would choose to work with Jupiter and Venus for your personal growth and for like the betterment of your life, from not only inside but on the outside as well, because as I mentioned last time, most of the occultists of the Renaissance were very rich white men who would just appreciate that kind of stuff, and malefic types in magic especially. But you will of course correct me and fill what I've forgotten. The malefics are the planets to be not avoided, but be careful about, planets that can bring strife or like negative energy into your life. So something not to be avoided, but at the very least controlled or reined in your life. So what is your view?
Yes, well, everything like in astrology, it's as you said, especially traditional astrology. I think traditional astrology and planetary magic are very much connected. Of course, today we tend to take a view that is saying, oh, look, Jupiter and Venus can also be some toxic archetypes, and it can be like bad if you have too much. Too much of Venus, we could just be lazy. You would just lie all day on the couch, eating chocolate, watching TV. That would be like shopping online. So Saturn and Mars, of course, can have some good influences, but I think that we maybe in trying to be all understanding, all encompassing, forgot some important things, and we have to come back to basics. And that is that, yes, Mars and Saturn would bring very often more challenges and more difficult energy and problems. And like I see it in practice in the natal charts of the people who went through some really difficult times. Like there is prominent aspects with Mars and Saturn, with people who experienced aggression, or they were the one like maybe doing aggressive stuff to other people. They have these heavy aspects. People who had many accidents, broken bones, like they had Mars Saturn. I have one example, like here with me, Mars Saturn both retrograde in Scorpio in the first house. We're talking about person who had like more than 15 accidents with broken bones and bodily injuries. So it's like we should have taken into account these traditional views. They're not for nothing, and they're not like we can't just overcome them and look at them with nice eyes. Like at the beginning of 2020, we had Saturn in very heavy aspects with Pluto, and like we all know how that year turned to be.
I'm just making a note because I think that's it is something. Wait, I think that's something that we do in our society lately very much, and that is tend to erase the extremes of either side. Nothing is too positive, nothing is too negative. Let's not talk about this negative side. Let's not talk about this being too positive. But I think there is a benefit to actually realizing that each of the planets has its malefic and its benefit. And the fact that there is 4 that have potential for one or the other being more is a good reminder. But however, if we go back for Luna, in English, the word lunatic comes from the word for Luna, because the opposite side of Luna is craziness. It's losing your mind and illusion and disillusionment and not being able to actually touch reality. For Mercury, this could be miscommunication or not being able to understand or communicate to people in a language that they understand, therefore isolating you from the group. For Venus, it could be, in my point of view, an overt hunger, or like being concentrated on fulfilling your needs at the expense of the others, and just taking and taking and taking.
Also being possessive.
Yes, and not being able to let go, because for Sun it would be just, again, let's say egoism, or like being too much focused on yourself. Too much focused on yourself to the detriment of thinking about others, or being too passionate for something to the detriment to yourself even. So you can even forget about taking care of yourself. For Mars, it could be being very physical with others, being very this is me, and nothing touches me. So you're again tend to isolate yourself, and that's the malefic. But again, it can be on the physical side of being prone to getting into fights or getting hurt, or not being able to feel fear to the point that you don't even take care of yourself, and being very like adrenaline sporty and not wearing seatbelts. And with the other planets, maybe we'll come to that, but each of them has their positive or negative side, their malefic and malefic side. And you have to be able to work with both, because both are useful. You have to be able to isolate yourself for your own benefit, but you have to be able to connect to others for the same benefit. You have to be able to distinguish when to do which.
I think Mars is especially interesting in this regard, because today it's very unpopular to express, let's say, Martian energy. And everyone, at least in the part of the world where I live in, everyone's trying to be nice all the time. And it's kind of expected that
It's Ireland.
Yeah.
It's Ireland, and come to Germany just for a minute. Well, sorry for jumping into that. It's just like that cultures can be also like connected to different planets. I don't know which planet would be connected to Germany. We can... Yeah, okay, I will give you the word, because the little one, your best friend, is just taking me away again.
She knows me. I just wanted to say that generally, as a Western society, we are very disconnected from the martial energy, and we try to avoid it. But you can see it in the popularity of competitive sports, that we tend to compensate the missing martial energy in football matches and football hooligans, and being overly invested in one team versus because
you exactly proving that we don't spend this energy in any other healthy outlets. Mars is also sexuality, and there's like many problems rising out of Mars that is suppressed, denied, not expressed. in the best possible way, frustrations, compensations, all of it is, I think, rising from the unhealthy repressed or unhealthy expressed Mars. Too much or too little of anything is bad, but with Mars, I think it's especially going into the extreme.
If we may be very candid, I think many of the current dating apps that have risen up in the last couple of years, some of them are fire themed, are the personification of some of the parts of the Martian egregore. To as far as I can distinguish. And I also wanted, you gave me an idea when you said something about unrealizing Mars, but then I forgot what I wanted to say because
But you know what? I think we should maybe start seeing anger as such a bad thing, especially the fighting. Like you fight with your friends. There's a saying, if you haven't had a real fight with your friend, is that a real friendship? Like, did you survive that? Or the friendship just broke? Like relationship as well. Like, when you are able to fight with somebody, really, scream, anger, real fighting with words and everything, having confrontation, and you're able to hear each other and you're able to spend this energy and then come out still as a unit, that's like the real healthy relationship. You survive that. And when you don't do that, it's kind of underneath the carpet, it's all these resentments boiling, and then you explode somewhere else.
I have a story if anybody's interested, if we have time. But before that, I just wanted to say, from practical perspective, if somebody wants to use the competitive energy of Mars in their life, one of the maybe most productive things you can do, especially now in COVID areas, is, for example, when you're looking for a job, you can use the competitive energy of Mars to stand out from your competition, like other candidates on the workplace, or be in it for yourself in general. So you can still use in magic the competitive energy of Mars very well. You can even realize that energy in your life in competing against yourself for achieving a goal. Now we're in COVID times where everything is forbidden and you can't do anything, but you can still work within yourself and you can still realize that energy of, I need this, I will be better then, but you can assign that me instead of being better than the other or fighting against somebody else. You can fight against a part of you that you want to change, which is again then other influences. But you can always have a healthy competition within yourself, with yourself, for your own betterment.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to be very careful about other things. And now, trigger warning for eating disorders or something. It can again degrade into something very unhealthy if you are really literally fighting against yourself. You have to be in a healthy competition with your old self for the betterment of your future self, but you have to be very careful not to degrade into a fight to the death.
And there has to be some limit, some discipline to it.
It has to have rules, and it has to have a goal that is beneficial to anybody, or to you especially, of course.
Yeah. If we look again at position of Mars, Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn, so it's best expressed in combination with Saturn. And that's what you said, rules. There's rules, there's discipline, there's some sort of limit. You're not going blindly and, without any thinking. It's actually with some planning and organization. So these two actually that are together malefics, but they can work together very well. They, in the old times, like Mars and Saturn together, that would be like a high rank military leader who is organizing everything, who is strategist maybe, or a master player of chess. I don't know. That would be like these two together.
Or competitive sports. You always have rules, what's allowed and what isn't allowed.
So let's move, if you would not mind, to Jupiter, because Mars in the end got some space. I'm quite glad. Like, it's amazing talk. I can't wait to listen to it also on YouTube when the little one will be sleeping. So if you may continue with Jupiter, please.
Okay. Well, if I may start it, Jupiter is my second favorite and second unfavorite, because I very much see the both sides. In like practicality, it is building deep roots and growing like a huge tree to like the ages, and being well, having fun, being jovial about your life, and then actually enjoying the fruits of your labor. But then again, it can also be about overconsumption and over enjoyment to like the detriment of your roots. I mentioned drugs in like previous planets. I think that for example, some of the negative sides of Jupiter could be over enjoyment of substance, or hazard, where you actually give stakes, like give at stake your own personal stability for the sake of momentarily enjoyment. And I think you, or am I getting too deep now? But so it is the greater Benefic, and it's seen as the planet of prosperity, wealth, and being well off and having fun and enjoying the prosperity and the wealth. So not overworking, but still being financially secure. But then again, there are many like negative sides. I maybe you, Oleander, now speak, and then I will just continue with my anecdote.
Okay, so I would say the words to describe Jupiter are development and expansion, and that can lead again into different directions. Not everything is like good, not all the shine is gold. But with Jupiter, good position Jupiter, again from astrology, it would give you a lot of blessings. It would literally be like a blessing in a life. It would give you maybe need to develop in the areas of education, knowledge, maybe develop your own philosophical, view of life, morality. These, let's say, universal laws of human behavior belong to Jupiter. So law itself would be Jupiter. Philosophy, knowledge, universities, anything that the society and we as civilization developed for the betterment of everyone would be Jupiter. But then again, expansion, of course, it can be like, I want to expand, but it's on the cost of somebody else or something else, or even my own health. If I overindulge in anything, food, any sorts of substance, if I overdo something, if I'm overly greedy, even though I would say Venus would be there in this story as well with greed. But being hedonist, enjoying life, but enjoying life as a philosophy on its own, that's maybe overdoing it with Jupiter. But with substances like drugs, I would connect it to a different planet, drugs especially, but overindulgence itself to a Jupiter, yes.
Which one?
Neptune.
Okay, I personally don't work with the outer three, so for me, overindulgence in substance is more like Jupiter, but I can see where you have Neptune. For me, alcoholism, drugs, cigarettes, and stuff like that is more like the negative side of Jupiter. But again, I don't work with Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, so
well,
not that they don't
if you
exist.
take them out of the story, and you only discuss 7 yes, then it would be Jupiter, and Venus in this aspect of maybe wanting too much, greed or something like that would be Venus. Overindulgence, yes, Jupiter. But if you add these extra three, yeah.
No, if you can finish. I just wanted to make a distinguishment between overindulgence and addiction.
Mhm.
I think addiction is Venus on its negative side, but overindulgence is Jupiter. There is to me is a clear distinction.
I can agree, because Venus is more personal and Venus would be more attached than Jupiter. I
Yeah.
think Jupiter is still, there is a little bit distance there. It's more social planet. It would like affect one generation as a whole. It takes more than a year to go around the zodiac. So yeah, Venus would be more addicted just from the perspective of being more attached to something, not being able to let go.
From my perspective, if I can make an metaphor or like an image of what I mean, if we take alcohol, and if you're an alcoholic who can't actually go through the day without having some alcohol, that's a Venus addiction, because you need it, you crave it, you hunger it for your own like ability to function, whether it's psychological or a physical addiction. But if we take alcohol and overuse of alcohol from a jovial perspective, it wouldn't be necessarily addiction, but it would be overspending on alcohol. So either binge drinking for too much money quite often, or overspending on alcohol, inviting everybody in your circle to drink on your tab at the cost of, for example, your future salary. It is not the physical addiction, but it's overextending in other areas to cover your indulgence in other areas. So it's not on the physical realm of physical addiction, but it's on the mental or over enjoying hedonistic side of things.
Yes, it makes total sense, because Jupiter again would be expansion. And if you take this example of spending more on alcohol, you what are you doing? You want to expand in this maybe lifestyle. You want to do more than what is your real possibility. You want to go far away from your means. So that would be Jupiter. But alcoholism on its own, I would have to go into Neptune for that, because I think addiction as a way to escape reality, or a way to not be present in this present moment with yourself, with your life, with whatever you're trying to escape. That for me would connect more to archetype of Neptune, which is fantasy.
I can see the fantasy side. Yes, I was again more speaking about the physical, because going into fantasy is a third way, which I again never explored, so I can't really speak to that. But do we have something more on Jupiter, or do we want to move to the limit of today, which is Saturn?
We can move to Saturn. If I remember anything about Jupiter, I will say.
Okay, do you want to start with Saturn, or do I do it?
Oh, you can do it.
Oh, thank you. uh, to me, I have to disagree with you on one side, and that's the fact that to me Saturn is law. You said that Jupiter is basically law, or
Like of these civilizations, human behavior, like laws of how we run our countries, universities, like politics, philosophy, law itself. Yeah.
yeah. To me, that's Saturn, and that's exactly the distinguishment between how stuff is done, where the limits of how stuff is done are, and where the limits between us as a group, whichever group it is, whether it's a Venusian group of people who like stuff or who want to do stuff, or whether it's people, as a nation, or as a society, as a community. It's the border things, and the distinguishment between where my liberty ends and yours begins. That's that's the liminality of Saturn, and I see in that part law as well, endings, transitions to changes on the less physical side of things because that's Luna, but it's like the shifts of perspective, shifts of paradigms that kind of change, very opposite to the lunar changes of material things, changes of habit, changes of cycles, which are very lunar. For me, Saturn is like change of perspective, change of destination, change of way of thinking, the more ethereal, out there things. What do you think?
I agree on borders and limits, and Saturn for me is many things, amongst them structure, so, and borders and limits. And if we're talking about law, I would say crime law would be more Saturn, because speaking about punishment, you did something wrong and this is what you're going to pay for it. While Jupiter is more about development. So if you want to develop your society, your country, your city, want to expand, you have to have some sort of plan and rules and common value that will govern how are we expanding. In that sort of way, law would be connected to Jupiter. But with Saturn, if you put a limit, if you say something is forbidden, you have the sign stop, and you have border of the country, then border of our body, skin, structure of our body, bones. Yes, that's all Saturn.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree.
I will try to join for a second. Yeah, that's why I love Saturn. Because when you can just organize everything and build it up like step by step, stone by stone, and you know the structure perfectly, you actually kind of can get more far than without it, than when you just like blindly shoot the arrow like the Mars would do. So for me, I was struggling with my Saturn for quite a long time because I have it in the house of creativity and in the house of children. But at some point, I found it. I found after Mars, first the Mars had to be communicated and understood within my psyche. And then also the Saturn. The baby just disappeared. And then also the Saturn started working for me. And since for Femme Occulte, I'm taking care about the organizational stuff and about the structure, I just started to enjoy it. And I kind of figured where is that creativity in something that could sound very structuralized. I think we can also imagine it as like a minimalistic household or a library that can be beautiful, can be atmospheric, but it has its structure and order, and it can work in that as well. And especially in my personal way, when you find those little details that are not exactly in the middle or in the perfect distance from each other, but are a little bit differently, then you find the structure of the humanly working ways. Because I had a friend the other day, some time ago, and he was creating this kind of model situations, how the people are escaping from the building when it's under the fire. And they were using basically like, how is the water running through the building? But the water goes kind of like natural structure, let's say. Yeah. But the human being makes sometimes a little bit some differences. And they had quite a problem with how to add it to that kind of system and to that kind of research on how will human mass or like more people react in this kind of situation. So yes, the structure, and then you have there those few kind of, on the first sight, unstructured things, but if you learn to work with them, yeah, it can work very well, I believe. And then there's the Jupiter that I couldn't talk about because the little one was here with us. Yeah, Jupiter is just very calming planet for me, the planet of like all the good fortune and success and all these things. I really have like a good connection to it. Maybe also because of I'm born on Thursday, and like I will just spoil everything about my chart really during these calls. And yeah, so it used to be always my like favorite influence, and also in my chart it's something that is, I believe, making me quite a lucky person and helping me alive a lot. So I'm just very, very thankful towards the big Jupiter, the highest of the gods. But in the same time, I very, very much like Saturn, and I'm putting these two like together as some kind of dichotomy, as some kind of two sides of one coin. That kind of borderline when you are still with Jupiter, you are already getting to the dark, far side unconscious of the last three planets and tiny Pluto, or let's say tiny. And but you are still on the light side. And with the Saturn, you are already like really on that border. Yeah, but now I'm talking totally from my heart, yeah, from what I feel, because I can't really concentrate my thoughts. So I hope that it made a little bit of sense. And I believe that Datura wanted to say something towards my Jupiter already. Or Saturn, sorry.
I think it was Saturn, and it gave me an idea. I don't know who it was, but to paraphrase, give me one like solid point and I will move the Earth. I think that's like for me the inner definition of Saturn, where the Saturn is like the immovable point from which you can like move everything else, and it's also the liminality of I've understood Saturn and now I can move forward into some sort of limitlessness or breaking the rules, because you have to have the rules to be able to break them or change them or develop them. You have we live in, most of us at least live in constitutional democracies, but the democracy or the constitution is the Saturn, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be changed or adjusted or somehow otherwise.
Yeah, maybe for Saturn the change is a little bit hard, but what I wanted to say when I was like waving here, like, oh yes, it was that give me the solid point and I can move everything. When you integrate and work with your shadow, which is for me very much Saturn, you find your center, and that's your point from which you can move anything. That's how I would view it. And that's what I wanted to get back to from the Luna, from the moon, from the unconscious. That Saturn for me, okay, there is society that is basically creating our shadows by expectations, by limitations, by, hey, be a human, yeah? But still, you have to internalize it. You have to find it within what is happening to you without.
I need 2 minutes. I will be back. You can continue. I need 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
I believe that slowly we will be finishing as well, because we spent here lovely 2 hours today.
I can add just a few points to the Saturn, and that is also Saturn as the last of the visible planets and last of the traditional planets is also very much symbolizing last part of the life, old age, and it was in the traditional astrology connected to that. So it's the end of the known, end of the visible, end of the life. Like people used to think it's end of the solar system, the furthest away from the sun, and today we know it's not like that. But Saturn for me also is materia on its own. Materializing anything, you need Saturn, and our life on this earth is Saturn, because they're not just written rules as laws, democracies, they're unwritten rules. We know them, and we know that if you want to succeed, you have to follow these unwritten rules, and they're all very much Saturn. Look at the most successful businessmen in the world. Look at the people who are, let's say, on the top. Aren't they all following very Saturnian, rules? And the time that is like the schedules, the numbers, everything in this world that is like moving us, all these invisible rules, they're still Saturn.
And the time, that is something that we must basically somehow, even though I hate the word must, something that it's just limiting us, limiting our experience. And
But it is also giving you a perspective, right? Because we have time. It's going from one point to another. It's not in any other way. It is giving you points in space and time from which you are experiencing everything. If we didn't have that, then just everything would be happening at once, and you know.
And then in old age, you can look backwards, and you can look at your previous experience and learn from it, and that might be another lesson of Saturn. Hopefully.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. I'm glad we agree. Okay, so do we have any more thoughts on these planets? Yeah, I actually still didn't get to the point which I wanted to get to already with the sun. Because here Datura is actually, or was since I know her, or for last years, working on the perfumes connected to different heavenly bodies through her Valas perfumery. So, like, how does that experience work? If you can just briefly tell us, because we will really need to finish. We are here for 2 hours already.
No, it's hard.
Okay.
Now, what I'm trying to do is basically use ingredients that are by correspondence within a planet, and then I try to use the different amounts of each ingredients to add up to either the planetary number or the talismanic number, and then I also try to make them smell nice. So that they are workable either as just attunement oils for practice, just to experience the planet from more earthly perspectives of this is how some of the plants that are under that planet's influence smell, and also the ingredients are formulated in a way that they correspond by numbers. And yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I've been expanding it to planetary spirits, angels, archangels, and also the Olympic spirits, and also trying to formulate the planetary metal into smell, because
Ooh. It's like amazing magical work, this stuff. And I believe that you started with the sun. That's why I was like, oh, actually, she was working on this. And then when Femme Occulte was created, you were working on Jupiter. And at the moment, it's a lunar sense, isn't it?
I have all the 7 basic planetary smells done. That's been done for a couple of years. So I have like the 7 planets. I have from then the expanded collections of the planetary angels, spirits, intelligences, Olympic spirits, and metals. I have for Venus, Jupiter, Luna, and Sun. Not necessarily in that order. And if everything goes well, the next would be this year Saturn at the end of the year. I don't think I can make any others in that meanwhile, because it's very hard. It's mathematics, and I was never good in mathematics, so it takes me a year to pick one, and I try to put them out on the in the yearly season that roughly corresponds with the planetary. And so I will probably be doing Saturn at the end of this year.
Well, that's super cool. The little one came for me again, so I'd say that it's time to slowly wrap it up. I will definitely link your perfumery, your enchanted, Valas enchanted under the video, so people can check it out. Because people are texting us so often that they love the scent of our quarterly book. So I believe that you deserve a bit of love on your websites, on your Etsy, or on your Instagram as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
To answer any future questions, though, because I've been getting them, I will not be doing the scents that are for each quarterly. I will not be doing them as custom scents, or they're not for sale like outside. So don't even ask me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so thank you everyone who joined us today for our evening chat. We may continue with outer planets and other thoughts if we will come to some ideas on that. Definitely let us know, write us questions under the video on YouTube, under the recording and stuff. And next week hopefully we will meet together with Roda, and we will have the chat in Czech language this time. So thank you very much, Oleander, that you joined us today. Thank you, Datura, and see you soon.
Thank you, everybody. It was lovely.